Hi, I wanted to provide you a quick demo of CostMap. Before I do that, let me give you some context behind the application. So CostMap is a replacement and repair cost calculation application. This is the interface. So it's a web application dominated by a map. Now the map is actually showing the assets in your water distribution system. So we're actually pulling data from your system directly. You'll notice that on the right hand side we've got a widget that's opened. That's actually the cost calculation widget, which I'll show you in a moment. Across the top of that right hand side of the application you'll see some other widgets there. We'll talk about those in due course, but that's what the interface looks like. Let's talk a little bit about the architecture. So what you'll be presented with if you choose to take a trial of CostMap, or you're using CostMap, is a simple login. So you'll use your login and that's generally going to be your named user login to actually get into the system. When you've logged in and been authenticated, you'll actually see the application, the interface I just showed you. So you'll see the CostMap web app. Now there are three parts to this diagram that are to the left, right and below the CostMap web app image here. To the left hand side you'll see client feature layers. Now these are your layers. So we're actually pointing directly at your ArcGIS instance and the layers that you've got published in that instance, and these are feature layers. To the right you've got the client configuration. Now there's a little bit of magic that we do to map your data to the RS means cost calculation data, and that's part of that client configuration. What we need to do is actually to map the way you've got your data published, the field names that you've used, to what RS means expects. So we do a simple mapping exercise which translates yours to theirs. At the bottom you'll see the RS means data. What we do, and again as I show you in the demo, is once you've selected assets in the interface, what automatically happens is we push that information to the RS means API, which then will give you back, or give the application back, that cost information. So those are the parts of the architecture that are very important. So that covers the architecture. Let's move directly in to the application itself. So when you actually load the application, you will be presented with this screen. This is the login screen. This is where you'll put your username and password. Now I'm using one that we use internally. You'll have been given your own password and login, or you'll be using one that's in-house. So you simply click the sign in option. We'll just go through that again. And that'll log you into the application itself. Now the application is loading. This is the interface that I showed you when we were walking through the PowerPoint. Again, these are in this instance, this is data from Opelika, Alabama. So this is our sample data. So if you're using the trial, this is what you'll see. You can click on any of these feature layers or any of these features in these layers and get the attributes of each of those features as I've just shown you. I mentioned in the top right hand corner that we have a series of widgets that you can actually open. I'm going to focus my attention on this left hand one, but just know that you have a filter option. You can turn layers on and off, you can change the base map, you can do some editing, and right at the end there's a help option as well. So I'm only going to show you 2 or 3 of those, not all of those, just for this demo. This is our cost calculator. You'll notice across the top there are a number of options. Let me click on the extreme right hand one to start with. Now this sets the configuration settings. So do you want a new scenario? Do you want a replacement or repair scenario? You can set those yourself. Now of course replace and repair have certain factors built against them, so material and installation will be those. We set them to default as I show you on the screen. You can change those as you need to. Let's move back to the options on the left hand side here. I'm simply going to click on this second one in. Now this allows me to actually select the assets I'm interested in and getting cost calculations back on. So I'm going to click on the map. 1, 2, 3. What's happening now is you'll see the assets highlighted on the map, and on the right hand side we've pushed your data to the CostMap API, so the RS means API, and we've now got that estimation cost data back, and that's listed on the right side there. So all of the assets you've selected are now listed here. So we've got some other fine-tuned controls here that we can look at. So if we wanted to change for water fittings the material, actually in that case that's probably not a good example. Let's look at this one. We can change the iron to, or chlorine or PVC. So this one is a good example, this water main, of how you can change the material type. How about the size, the diameter? Again, you've got a whole load of options there that you can change. So you can fine-tune that calculation on what you need. If you change that value, you'll notice that this cost value will change also. Let's look at just water mains in isolation. So if you click on water main, you'll actually see a drop down here of the breakdown of that cost calculation. So you've got equipment, you've got material, you've got labor, and you've got trench cost as well. So that's the basic structure of the CostMap application in terms of costing. Now I could have selected the left-hand option here, the select project area, and in some cases we've actually got project areas already marked out. Had I clicked here, all the assets that sit within this would be highlighted in the same way as I've just shown you. Moving along the options here, we can add individual assets to the ones we've already got selected in the list and update the list for 1 and 2 and 3 additions, or vice versa. We can go backwards and remove some of those that are already selected. This button actually clears everything, so we've got a clear button, so if you want to start the process again, you can click that button. And last and quite importantly is this export selection. So you can actually export this to a spreadsheet. So if you need to take the data that we've generated here and do some extra calculations against that data in-house, then you can go ahead and do that as well. So that allows you to do that export. Let me briefly talk about a couple of other options that I mentioned at the start. This is filter. So we can actually filter layers based on criteria. So we can choose our layer. In this case, we maybe want to look at water mains, and we can choose from the attributes of water mains. So if we were only interested in a certain material type, we could click on that one. And once we've done that, we can actually select to filter or to highlight that feature. Filter would only show you those specific features which fit the criteria that you're interested in. Highlight would and the filter would hide all the other features that are not of that type. Highlight would keep all the features on the map, but just highlight in yellow those that fit that criteria. Just slightly a different way of doing it. So that's our filter option. The last one is the actual edit option. So we've got the ability in the application to select a type. Again, let's talk about water main. Let's click on create, and I'm actually not going to do it in this demo, but we could actually draw a line on an imaginary water main on the map here, and we could actually then do cost calculations against what if scenarios. So we could create a number of different asset types on the map and then cost all those assets out just to present these what if scenarios. So those are the basics of CostMap. You have in the top right hand corner an online document that will walk you through in more detail how to use the application, and we'll be probably adding a video here in due course as well. So that's CostMap. Feel free to ask us any questions you have on CostMap, and if you'd like to have a trial of CostMap, we can make that available to you. Thanks for watching.